Hey, how are you guys doing today? So Janine really wants me to do a like a stratagem or a tactical video and talk about possible different tactics you can use for certain lists. One of my favorite lists that I like to use, I play pretty much exclusively in my free time anyway, not on battle reports. Just the vanilla Marine Space Marine Codex, and I'm trying really hard to figure out ways that will continue to be aggressive and competitive in a tournament setting. And sometimes that's a little bit difficult because the codex is getting older already. The more codexes come out, the more it gets outdated. But one of the lists I like to run is
Thomas is assembling while he does this, by the way.
Yeah, so trying to do two things at once. It may or may not be successful. One of the lists I like to do is a Shrike list, right? Shrike is the captain from the Raven Guard who gives your entire army, takes away combat tactics and gives the entire army fleet. So fleeting Space Marines, anybody who has combat tactics in the list, all of a sudden has fleet, which is really pretty nasty, pretty awesome. Also, he allows whatever unit he has with him to infiltrate. So obviously, an obvious tactic for that is to take a 10-man assault Terminator squad, and then they're infiltrating 18 inches out from your opponent's army. That's pretty much a guaranteed turn 2 charge. And Shrike can of course, charge on turn 1 because he has a jump pack. Now, in addition to that, to make the list, rather than just leaving Shrike and those Terminators out there where the rest of your army kind of comes across the table, so those Terminators are taking all the brunt of their fire, you can take Scouts as a troop choice, switch out their assault or their sniper rifles for close combat and bolt pistol, and then they infiltrate. So then you could have a squad of them. You give the sergeant a power fist, and I like to give them like a melta bomb maybe, or you give them a combi melta, and then you can make that guy pretty darn expensive. But if he or you can make him cheap, it just really kind of depends. But they can also infiltrate, which means if you have first turn, it's pretty nasty because then you could have a bunch of squads of them start out infiltrating, so you're 18 inches out from your opponent. They get to make a scout move, so they move 6 inches. They have moved through cover, so they get to roll 3 dice if you're already in cover. They get to then they move regularly on the beginning of the turn. Then they fleet, and then you're 18 inches out, and you've got basically a free move, at least a 1 inch charge or 1 inch run move. As long as they're not in terrain or something, you've got a guaranteed charge turn 1, because you're going to go 19 inches at least, and they're only 18 inches away. So that's pretty nasty, especially if you end up against somebody who has it's really vehicle heavy, because then they haven't moved, and you're auto hitting them. And if you have melta bombs, that's really nasty and gross. Alternatively, if you have the combi melta, there's the chance you could blow up a vehicle that has a transport vehicle and then get to the GUI engines on the inside. Drawbacks to the list. Well, I would say that list is really, really nasty if you have first turn against a Tau player or an IG player, because one of their advantages is they have a lot of shooting, and they can really try and keep you at range. They need to try and keep you at range. They don't want you in close combat with them because you're going to win. Downsides, on the other hand, let's say you're going against something like the new Dark Angel all Terminator list, or a Logan Wing list, or Grey Knights with all Terminators, or even regular Grey Knights. All of those kind of lists could be more like, well, maybe I don't really want to rush into combat with them. Usually what I do to back up the Scouts as my troops, and then Shrike and the Terminators, is I like a Typhoon land speeder, because it's got a lot of mobility and range. Thunderfire cannons, very nasty, very nice. You need some anti-tank power, so I usually spend the 10 points and get a missile launcher in the scout squad, just on the off chance that there's something I want to shoot instead of moving. Of course, you could combat squad those guys so that there's just the scouts with the missile launcher standing around. And alternatively, rather than taking the entire squad as close combat, you could take the 4 guys that are with the sergeant who has a power fist as close combat. They can rush in and charge, and then the other 5 can stand there with the missile launcher and 4 sniper rifle guys. It's nice to have that extra, have the 10 guys in close combat, because you're only weapon skill 3, and more importantly than that, you're in your ballistic skill 3, so it's harder to shoot stuff at range. But more importantly than that, and worse than that, is you only have 4 up armor save, which means heavy flamers, assault cannons, these weapons that, you know, Terminators kind of just like, whatever. Or I mean, not Terminators, but regular Space Marines are like, whatever. You can throw those at me, I'm just going to make my 3-up save, most likely. Are actually going to just straight out kill scouts. So they're a little bit more, you know, weak, easier to kill. So you gotta babysit them some that way. So one of the things I do is I take more Terminators, because they're all, you know, fleeting assault Terminators. So you could either, you know, start them off in whatever right at the edge of wherever your, you know, deployment zone is, and then run them up, or the scout sergeant can take teleport homer, and you could drop them in. They would stick right next to those guys, and then the following turn get whatever's there, because again they can move, fleet, and then charge. So that can be really nasty. I've tried it with assault marines, and I don't like it as much, especially not against somebody who, I don't know. In my opinion, one of the meta games that's come up a lot lately is, you know, Terminators. Of course, from the beginning of 5th edition when Space Marine Codex came out, assault Terminators with Thunderhammer Storm Shield have been kind of the meta game. And anytime you're playing a Space Marine player, you're likely to play against something with that. And I feel like assault Marines have a really hard time taking out anything that's got a lot of power weapons in it. I don't feel so bad about throwing away a bunch of scouts to do it, because they're a lot cheaper. But with a power fist, a unit of assault marines is 215 points versus the same squad of scouts that is more likely to get that first turn charge gets is like 170 or something, 185. It just really the number can change depending on how much equipment you want to put on your sergeant. Like if you want to just be like, oh, he's got a power fist, then the unit's like. I want to say 165. Don't quote me on that. But you know, you could go further. You could give them camo cloaks. You can take the heavy weapon option. So, you know, give the sergeant a power fist, melt a bomb, combi melt a teleport homer. You know, that guy is all of a sudden like an 80-point guy. But it's viable. I think that it's not so good. I have tried it against a Tyranid army, and I don't know how much of. I mean, in a Tyranid kind of situation, you more likely want to be like, okay, I'm going to wait for them to come to me and then choose my charges because they're fleet. And of course, if you're playing against something that's got all Terminators in it, that's pretty grody. But I think it has a fair chance against, you know, your basic. Mechanized Space Marine kind of thing, Space Marine kind of list, because while you aren't mechanized, you do have some long-range hitting power, and they also have to stay out of your 18-inch bubble, so rather than a 12-inch bubble. Anyway, if you found something useful in that.